Ivy over the large sandstone blocks, handsome bay windows either side of the oak door, the lion's head brass knocker. It looked exactly the same as when she'd left, just as it was the first time she'd seen it and fell in love, and couldn't not take over the rental. But that simple image had tarnished what had once been her haven. Like most of the homes in this part of London, the house was set back from the street by a small front garden. 6 paces, and she was up her garden path and at the door. As she walked, she rummaged in her bag for her keys. With a start, she realised they weren't in the little zipped compartment in the side wall of the bag, nor in the middle section. She pushed aside her purse, her diary, her phone, fingers scrabbling for the telltale solid metal. Where were they? She became aware of the movement in her peripheral vision, to her right, coming up from behind the still-waiting taxi. Jesus, where were her keys? She remembered checking on them when she'd left Lisa's that afternoon. A cough. Her head whipped round. A man, head bowed, wearing a flat cap, walking slowly. Mouth dry, she dug furiously through her bag. Where were they? How many times had she told herself to get a smaller bag? She tried the zipped compartment again. There they were. She exhaled in relief. How had she missed them? Key now in hand, she thrust it into the lock, but before she opened the door she turned. The man was at the top of her path. The street light just above cast him in a jaundiced glow. He grunted. "Evening, sweetheart." "Oh, hi, Mr. Denby." She almost sagged with relief against the door. It was only the old man from 3 doors down. "Told you," he chuckled. "It's Larry." "Course it is, Larry," she said, and worked a smile into her expression. "Lovely evening." And with a tip of his hat he continued on his way. Waiting for a moment till her heart slowed, Amelie turned the key in the lock, opened the door, and stepped inside. Before she shut it, she waved at the driver. He returned the gesture and drove off. Inside, back against the door, she listened as the car moved away. Then she strained to hear if there was any other noise in the house. Silence. The familiar sounds of the area registered. A dog barked from somewhere behind her. A door slammed next door. A car, then another, drove past. Someone, a child, called out to a friend as they ran past. Life moving on, completely unmindful of her troubles. She put the chain on and clutched the keys in her fist, one pointing out from between 2 fingers like a makeshift knuckle-duster. A stunt guy on her last movie had shown her this little trick when weird things first started to happen in her life. She suspected it wouldn't cause much damage, but she felt reassured by it. If anyone came at her, she'd aim for the eyes, make as much of a mess as she could before running to safety. Keeping her footfall as light as she could, she made her way down the long hall, past the dining-room door and through into the kitchen. The back door was locked, just as she left it, and all of the windows were closed. Retracing her steps, she went back down the hall and edged into the living room. All the seats were vacant, the windows shut. But the curtains were open, meaning if he was out there he could see everything. On her hands and knees she crawled over the carpet to the large bay windows, and eventually, with a lot of tugging and some heavy breathing, she managed to close them. Then she made her way onto the sofa, where she collapsed. "What are you doing?" she asked herself. "Who crawls along their living-room floor to shut their curtains?" She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. Wine would help. She could almost hear Lisa's voice, and smiled, and felt that smile loosen the muscles in her neck, in her back, all the way down to her feet. She was safe. There was no need to worry. A noise. A creak as someone moved above her head. In her bedroom. Without thought, barely breathing, she made her way towards the door as silently as she could. From the creak of the old floorboards she could tell whoever was up there was also on the move. At the living-room door she paused, thought about her phone. Would she have time to call? No, her best plan was to get the hell out of this house, now. Folding herself into a crouch, she stuck her head beyond the doorway and looked up. There, as if inhabiting the shadows at the top of the stairs, stood a man,